He's the independent candidate for governor. He's kind of watching this whole thing, sort of.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you at Part 5, Lookout, Rhode Island, and Taco Comfort Solutions.
When I say he's watching it, I mean he has the option, because he's running as an independent in the general election, to watch the shenanigans in both the Democratic and Republican primaries. And that's a given based on the schedule. But there is plenty to watch right now, because the primaries are becoming a little funky, as they normally do. Each have their own kind of signature from one political cycle to the next. When I say sort of, it's not like he can keep quiet. It's just not. I mean, the very idea, he's had a cable show for years called Trillo Talk, speaks for itself. But Joe Trillo is here once again, and I'm looking forward to him finally not complaining about the bad pictures that he gets on this set. As you might have noticed, we've changed the set around a little bit, and now he thinks he looks better, which is, you know, which is a in context commentary, no doubt about it, for all of us. Anyway, glad to have you aboard. The heat is breaking as we speak at 7:30 and midnight, thankfully, and we'll get to that in a second. But I just wanted to note on the political side, I tweeted this out earlier today. It's just amazing to me. So Kathy Gregg at the Providence Journal notes that Sheldon Whitehouse is announcing that he's going, as the politicians like to say, up on television with a $615,000 television buy, which can go a long way, and I'm sure there's more if he thinks he needs it. This in reaction to the Bob Flanders television buy, which, as I wrote, feels now like a fly swatted by the power of incumbency. And my commentary is no deeper than that. I'm just suggesting to you that you really have to recognize that, especially with the Senate, when you have a 6-year cycle, the amount of money that incumbents can pile up is devastating to challengers, devastating. And so you should think about that when you're electing somebody, because you're either enhancing incumbency or creating incumbency for somebody for the first time. Point is, once elected to a big seat, it's tough to lose it. We'll see. Money talks, unfortunately, in this business, and it's a necessary evil. All right, yesterday we had this conference with the Ed Commissioner and the governor, and while the focus was on gun safety and their new idea about that, I know my guest wants to talk about that, and I have some thoughts on it as well. The heat in the kitchen, last night I kind of whacked the superintendents for, I thought, their stupidity in sending kids to school in index heat of plus 100. I asked the governor about this at the press conference. Well, I asked both the commissioner and the governor. The commissioner said, hey, listen, this is the kind of thing that we leave to the discretion of superintendents, and the governor agreed. Any thoughts?
I agree. You know, I will say, as a mother, it is almost impossible to think that these kids could be able to focus in 90-degree weather in the schools, but I don't think it is the state's place to tell schools what their schedule should be. So if the local schools had said, we're letting the kids out early because it's too hot, I would have totally supported that.
Yeah, you will declare emergencies on weather matters in general and offer leadership on that then. Why is a heating of 100 plus exempt from that thought process?
You know, it's a great question, and I think if we thought that there were the same level of danger, it would be different.
I was off mic in that conference, but what I was asking was, hey, listen, you declare states of emergency all the time. All of a sudden, your influence then impacts what the superintendents will decide. You know, the picking and choosing thing here is puzzling to me. And in fact, the very nature of the press conference yesterday was a gun safety proclamation dictate to all of the schools. We'll talk to Joe about that as well. He's here. Why don't we welcome him in?
Well, it's nice to be here.
You like your shot better?
I like my shot much better.
Mr. Television?
The last one, all you were doing is photographing my nose.
I
know it's beautiful, but I don't need the camera angle right at it like
the last 20 that you've been on this show. Everyone's gotten very intimate with your schnoz.
This is
How's
true.
That?
Charlie Hall,
and all my problems.
You don't have the schnoz. Charlie Hall has done some cartoons, and every cartoon he's got the nose out to here. And I'm not offended by it. I think it's funny.
All right. Thought on this heat thing? If you were Doug Governor, now listen, this game is easy to play, and challengers can play it all the time. Sitting in the seat's different. But I do find an incongruence between what we're going to talk about, and that's the gun safety proposal from the governor for concealed carry folks. They kind of conveniently jump back and forth between what is, a statewide leadership decision and a discretionary one for the districts.
But that's what it's about. This is about leadership. I mean, it's easy to criticize this governor, but I've said all along, the problem with this governor is she's a very smart woman. I can't take that away from her. You give her a textbook and you test her on what was in that textbook, I'll bet you she's going to get 98%. But don't give her a problem that she hasn't studied in a textbook. And there's where her leadership skills fall flat, because she can't solve a problem that somebody doesn't have a formula that she could have studied to solve. And this is what she did with this heat. I said to you on the radio, and I say it again, she should have handled the heat problem like she handled the snowstorm. It was, or handled a problem where there's no heat in any schools, or it's so cold that the school heating systems can't bring the schools up to temperature.
It's really weird. For some reason, the culture, not just Gina Raimondo, but the culture seems to be, when it's ice cold and there's no heat,
we got a problem.
We got a problem. When it's blistering hot and there's no cool,
Yeah, and I contend that you can dress for cold weather, but you really can't dress for hot weather.
No.
I mean, even if you had no clothes on, you can still be pretty warm. The bottom line is she should have declared a state of an emergency. She should have mandated that the schools stay closed until the outside temperature at least goes to 80 degrees.
Is it necessary to get so dramatic as to declare a state of emergency, or just to, from the bully pulpit, make a strong urgency? You don't have to take the superintendent's gigs away if there's no protocol for it, but between she and the commissioner, who has a role in this as well, to say, hey, listen, we strongly urge the schools to shut down. Then the supers are off the hook.
Well, she could have done that too, you're right. But let's go back to this winter. There were a couple of instances where she got bad weather reports and she closed the schools. Do you remember that? So this is a similar situation. You're going with a weather report. The weather report was pretty accurate so far, that we were going to have 3 90-plus degree days. 90 degrees transfers to sometimes over 100 degrees when you put 25 to 30 bodies in a classroom,
right,
especially with the sun blaring in on the glass of the classrooms. So I just think it was a bad call, showed lack of leadership.
All right, when we come back, we'll get to the premise of the governor's press conference with the commissioner and Joe's thoughts on it. Stay with us. So here's a headline from yesterday's Governor Ed Commissioner get-together. Of course, Ken Wagner is the Ed Commissioner. I was in that room asking questions about this and trying to put this whole thing, real time in context. I asked a lot of questions about the space between this edict to the schools and the foundation of law, which is missing. Here's the Night Witness News story on what happened yesterday.
Governor Gina Raimondo and Education Commissioner Ken Wagner's new policy bans guns from being brought into schools, except in the case of active law enforcement officers.
Until now, there's been a bit of a loophole. Rhode Island is one of only very few states that says if you have a concealed carry permit, you can be on school grounds with a gun.
Raimondo says she would have preferred the legislature pass a law banning guns in schools, which would have allowed police to enforce it. But the so-called Safe Schools Act was held for further study at the State House this year.
Until such time as the legislature cleans this up, it's my job to protect kids and to protect teachers. And that's why today, effective immediately, we are issuing the binding directive.
They should be really addressing security in our schools and making sure our children feel safe, not putting further restrictions on law-abiding citizens.
Frank Sicoccio, the president of the Rhode Island Second Amendment Coalition, argues concealed carry permit holders could potentially stop an active shooter. He doesn't think school employees should be required to carry guns, but says teachers should at least have the option if they are properly trained and comfortable carrying.
gun-free zones don't work. They're actually considered killing zones.
All right, I have my own thoughts on this. What's your gut check?
Well,
You put out, let me put it up, just pop this up. I mean, you put out a press release right away, arguing the point,
yeah,
right?
well, my point is that this is going to do absolutely nothing to make the kids any safer. It's just a psychological thing that the governor is putting out right now to let the people who are concerned that they have children in schools feel better. So it's feel good. It's a feel good statement. It's not going to protect anybody. If you really wanted to protect people, Governor, what you would have done is you would have at least sent a metal detector to all the schools and encouraged
She's
them.
actually philosophically against metal detectors, which is conflicting, I think,
Yeah.
in a way. But finish thought.
Well, it's conflicting because how are you going to determine if somebody has a gun
Thank you.
if you don't put them through a metal detector?
At this press conference, I asked both the commissioner and the governor a question related to that. I said, okay, let me see if I follow this. You're suggesting that exemptions that the law requires or prohibits concealed carry at the State House, at the courts, at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, but all of those places have a machine
Right.
through which you have to go. So I said, without the machine
Right.
through
You're
which
supposed
you
to
have
search
to go, how do you determine what? And the other problem that I find here is that the space between a directive and a law leaves enforcement and/or penalty or conviction or arrest, all those kinds of things, in limbo. I don't know how this is enforceable other than to create kind of a legal mess. The commissioner's point was, look, most concealed carry people are responsible citizens, and so when they're informed that they have to leave the premises, they're going to do so without incident. I said, well, you know what? Just because a guy's arguing doesn't mean that he's violent. And then what happens? Then you call the cops, and the cops come. And what discretion one cop's going to say, all right, no big deal. Another cop might have a and I don't know if anybody will ever be convicted of violating the directive.
Well,
So
there's no law in place that will allow them to be convicted.
yeah. By the way, the law is fine. 46 states have it. I'm ambivalent about it. Are you?
I don't believe 46 states have it. But with that said,
that's what they said yesterday.
Yeah, that's what they said. But I'm not. I haven't looked at all the criteria.
Right. Well, you would assume when public officials state that 46 states have it that they're telling
You would
the truth.
assume it. I don't assume it, and I haven't had the time to check it out.
All right.
But the point here is, you pass this mandate.
There's no good faith in politics anymore, I guess.
Well, I don't want to comment because I unfortunately have been labeled.
How
a politician.
stupid would it be for the governor and the commissioner to say that 46 states have it? I mean, I usually do a lot of homework, but when they say that, I think, okay, they must have researched that. Whatever.
Well, you would hope that they would have.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, here's what needed to be done. She needed to get a bill through the General Assembly that included no carry areas the same way we do with the courthouse, same way we do with the State House, the same way you do with the airport, that those are no carry
I think
zones.
she thinks she's going to influence the legislature with this kind of thing. She pulled the same stunt with the red flag legislation. She put an executive order that had no weight. By the way, that idea generated from this television show with my conversation with Pina Nerona, as admitted to by the Police Chiefs Association. It was then followed by legislative action. She tried to preempt. She actually stole the thunder of the legislature on that one. This time I think she's trying to accomplish something, A, at the start of the school year, timing-wise, B, politically, and C, put some pressure on the legislature.
But she's trying to cover her own rear end because she's really done nothing to make the schools harder for somebody to get into. What she should have done is put money out there for metal detectors. She should have put money out there for cameras. Every school today should have a camera system monitoring all entrances in all common areas in the school.
Well, that's your field of expertise. You ran an alarm company for a security
I ran a
company.
security company.
Yeah.
We did more than just alarms. We did all forms of security analysis.
Here's what the commissioner said. If I threw all this audio at you, we wouldn't get anything done. But on short order, he said, listen, here's a scenario. Law-abiding, conceal and carry dad comes onto the campus of a school, into the classroom, reaches for his wallet, exposes his gun. Kid freaks out, tells the teacher. Teacher goes down the hallway, tells the principal. Principal calls the cops. Cops come, bad incident occurs, all because of that. That's the ankle, shin, knee bone, thigh bone connective tissue that he was worried about. Viable concern?
You know, everything
Yeah.
is a viable concern, but what are the percentages of that happening? It's probably negligible, because anybody that's carrying a concealed, and the operative word here is you have a concealed weapon. Not that the weapon is visible, not that you're just going to move your coat pocket and it's going to be seen. There's a lot of ways that guys can carry guns without necessarily taking the possibility.
He also said that he was concerned that districts on their own were starting to make these policy decisions, and he had to systematize it. Do you buy that?
Well, I would encourage individual districts to make some decisions to certainly harden their schools. But I don't think that the governor has taken the lead that she should have taken on this particular issue. She should have put money out there for a variety of things. You can have gunshot detectors, which I think Charlie Lombardi did in North Providence. So if a gun goes off, it immediately triggers the police department. You could have teachers that have panic buttons on them, that if anything is going on in the school, bingo, you hit the button notifies the police department, and at least you're getting police out there as soon as possible. So there's a lot of things that she could have done. Having a panic button on every teacher it probably could be done in a school for $4,000 with all the panic buttons. So we're not talking about a lot of money. Putting bulletproof tint on glass windows, on the outside windows, on the windows in a classroom as you come in, so somebody couldn't shoot through it. Having the classroom doors locked with digital locks so only the teachers can come in and out without somebody just coming up to the door and opening the door. There's a whole bunch of ways that you could protect the classroom.
All right, we'll see how this goes. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the campaign and a little bit more about the multiple sides of the candidates. Stay with us.
I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, ruffle a few feathers, and fix our state's many problems.
Let me tell you, take a look, go to Joe's website, which is
TrilloForGovernor.com.
TrilloForGovernor.com, and watch the video. I think you'll enjoy it. I had no idea what kind of a musician Joe is, a pianist, a drummer. What else?
Sax, bass,
the whole
keyboards.
thing. But you know, it is nice to get a little bit of a know-how on who these people are. The funny thing is, I've always said that Joe's the best dressed public official I've ever had. And always blows me away on the set, right? But I didn't realize that he wears a dress shirt when he's working underneath a car. That's why I ran that one. Wait,
really?
Come on, man.
That's all I
do you have any
ever wear.
t-shirts?
No, I never. With my stomach, I can't wear a t-shirt. I never wear a clingy shirt. I always wear dress shirts. Every place, on the boat.
I don't wear clingy
like
shirts either, but I got double XLs to do some work,
well,
for heaven's sake.
Sometimes the double XLs don't necessarily cover a multitude of sins, and they exist.
But you can fix the car. I mean, you report out that you're very mechanically inclined.
I like to say I can do any trade that's out there. I can sew, I can tune pianos, I can rebuild pianos, I can refinish cabinets, I can build cabinets. I have cabinetry in my house that I made.
I think the sewing thing is actually fascinating. It's nice that you're comfortable in your own skin and you can talk about that you're a great sewer.
But I used to sew from when I was a kid. I used to make rolls and pleats for the cars and sew upholstery and tops, and I make covers and all that other stuff. So a lot of the stuff on my boats, I sew myself, if I have the time. If I don't, then I'll farm it out. But I don't do everything. I might have the trade, know the trade to do it, but I do hire people to do it. I don't work on any of my real estate. I will never touch one of my own pieces of property.
Really?
Yeah.
Because?
I don't want my tenants to think I'm handy.
Because they'll call you all the time.
They'll call me all the time.
Cat's out of the bag. All tenants of Joe Trillo, feel free to call him because he can fix it. He just doesn't want you to call him. I think you just took a chunk out of your available time for campaigning. I'm going to have you at every tenant. And of course, navigation is your big thing with your big boat. But you did have one mishap, which is still Still kind of the story of the summer. We've already talked about it. I'm not gonna prosecute that case. But there is
10,000 miles of boating. That was the first time I ever hit a rock.
All right, well, there you go. But then there was this other. Can we roll this out on the? That's what we call it in the business, on the sign thing there.
We have to. We'll take this to the Supreme Court. If I take the sign down, I let government roll over people. That's not my personality. This is what I do. I fight for people. In this particular case, I'm fighting for my rights and my sister's rights to be able to have a political sign.
What happened 2
How
weeks
did you
ago?
just pull that footage up like that?
Magic. Oh, you think you're the only guy with skill around here?
Holy cow,
I got a
that
whole
was
team.
quick.
I got a whole team out there thinking about that. Did you yank that thing down?
We took the sign down.
So much for fighting in the Supreme Court, big
Well,
tough
no.
guy.
We will take it all the way. If the town is going to insist on it, the town wouldn't make any concessions. They said we're going to court.
Is the case still open?
The case is still open.
This is Narragansett.
Oh
in
yeah, the
Scarborough.
case is still open, and if necessary, we will take it all the way. But the bottom line is, I decided that at this point in time, I wanted to show good faith to the town, see if they were going to be reasonable. If they're not going to be reasonable, we're going to continue to fight.
Yeah, you're looking at a pretty stiff financial penalty, right?
Yeah, we're up to a potential penalty of $22,000 right now.
It's not chicken feed.
No.
No. And you're pretty tight. Everybody
And
knows
before I give that town $22,000, I'll spend $50,000 with lawyers.
Give me your take. It's easy to be you right now, and difficult. Your polling data is not impressive by any means. Who knows?
I disagree with the polling data that's out there.
But the primaries are easy for you to watch because the shenanigans are going on. Give me a quick minute and a half or so on what you think's happening in both primaries.
Well, I think both primaries are pretty much playing out as expected. Specifically, the Republican primary, I think I said from day one, it's been fixed, it's been rigged. When you have the chairman of the party going to Washington, D.C., parading Alan Fung around as the anointed one 2 years ago, 18 months ago, 12 months ago, and when I find myself walking into the RNC, to which I served for many years as their national committee man, and I can't even get to talk to the chairwoman of the Republican Party because the door has been shut by Alan Fung, that's a bad message to send to me.
Well, that was an extra amount of time on the GOP. What about Gina and Matt Brown and the lack of debates and everything else?
Well, I think both candidates are guilty of not wanting accountability. I mean, Gina doesn't want to answer to any of the questions that Matt Brown can throw at her. I mean, I couldn't disagree more with anybody than I do with Matt Brown because he's a socialist.
5 seconds. You think you'll qualify for major debates in the general?
Well, I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. And I will fight to be in those debates as much as I possibly can.
All right. Get a T-shirt, will you? That's easier to fix the car. Good to see you. Final word when we come back. Who knows what the general election will bring, but something tells me that Trillo might have a little bit more traction than some of the pundits would think. We'll see. Coming up on the Friday program, old friend and a guy who I love to fight with, the executive director of the National Education Association, Bob Walsh, will be here to refute some of the claims made earlier this week on the show and to talk, teacher stuff, heat, and politics. So we'll see you tomorrow night. And of course, at 3 o'clock on the radio on WPRO tomorrow. Good night.